Righty, let's get some more reaction now with Michele O'Neill, the president of the ACTU, live in Canberra. Michele, good to see you. Thanks for your time this morning. So let's just start with your broad impressions of the budget so far.
Look, this is a good budget for working people, and we say that because you can sum it up by saying two words, which is higher wages. What we see in this budget is that wages are going to continue to go up. And we've got to remember that's after a decade, 10 years of stagnant wages under the coalition government. So if you're going to see improvements in people dealing with the cost of living, higher wages is a really important part of that. And if you look in specifics, you see that support for aged care workers and early childhood education and care workers. They're jobs that are predominantly done by women, and they're jobs that we've really undervalued for too long. What's more important than looking after our kids and our elders? So putting more money into lifting the wages of those sectors will help with getting and keeping workers there too.
But longer term, inflation is going to come down. Do you expect that to hit wages as well?
No, we see wage growth continuing in the longer term, and that's what the budget papers show. And we've got the right things in place now. We've got more capacity for workers to bargain. We've got that support for lifting in the minimum wage. Do you know in the next year, workers are going to see a real wage increase, which is the equivalent of the 10 years of increases under the previous government. So wages need to keep going up. That's good for workers and their families, but it's also good for the economy. And so we see that's an important bit going forward, and that's what the budget papers say is going to happen.
How about power bill help for households and businesses, $300, $325?
Well, support with power bills is essential because when you think of people, I know workers that have been trying to make decisions about whether they put food on the table or whether they pay their power bills. So getting some support for people while we've got the cost of living problems that we've got is an essential bit of support. It's also good because it'll help drive down inflation because it's not $300 cash, it's taking it off power bills. And that combined with the tax cuts that we're going to see coming up, I think it'll make a difference, and we need to make a difference because nobody should be making those terrible choices between food and paying the bill.
Right, I mean, that's true, but I mean, people will still have that cash, but they'll spend it elsewhere. So are you not worried that that would still be inflationary?
Well, what we know from what happened last year is that when we saw the rent support and the support for energy bills, we saw inflation come down. We saw it come down dramatically. So extending those measures, we think makes sense in terms of inflation continuing to come down. And it's got to be seen with all of the other things that are happening too, because what really matters to people on low and middle incomes is that we see those wages keep going up that I've been talking about. That's essential, but also that we have that immediate support.
Unemployment, though, will inevitably rise, and you've got this interesting point from Treasury, which assume that the cash rate will ease from the middle of next year, but then you'll have 0.75% cuts by the middle of 2026. So after all of those rises, there's not many cuts in the next couple of years. Are you concerned about businesses folding because of that?
Look, we think rates need to be cut. We've consistently said that we don't think there's been a sufficient look at what's really been going on in the economy, where in fact we've seen profits continue to rise dramatically when workers' wages were going in the opposite direction, and price gouging, as we know, in so many of the supermarkets and other places where just excessive profits being paid at a time where everything else was going up for people who were trying to buy those products. So we really want to see further rate cuts coming through the system. That's an important thing for working people. But also we know that the wages part of that is critical too. So getting the wages moving, seeing those tax cuts, but we also want to see the interest rates come down.
Okay, that's Michele O'Neill from the ACTU with her thoughts this morning. Thank you, Michele.